Hey there everybody, it's Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, which is a part of Love to Hate. And in this video, we are going to share with you our top 10 games of 2021.
Yep.
So this is going to be two lists. Both Jeremy and I have our own way different lists.
Very different.
Yes. And if you'll recall, Sam and I did a top 10 2020 list for Love to Hate. In that video, I specified that my list was going to be several games that were of lighter weight, family weight kind of games. And so that was specific to that side of our channel where we look at those lighter, easier games to play with casual and non-gamers. In this video, we're going to be looking at more of the medium to heavier games that are hard to master.
Like I told you, I think about 60 minutes or more would be the feel, and majority of them are probably about 90 to shoot, who knows. And
generally, when we're looking at weight on BGG, not that that's the best, accurate thing to look at, but they're generally going to be about a 2.5 or higher when you're looking at weight on BGG. So. All right, so a little tidbit about my list. As we mentioned, our lists are going to be different. My list is specifically going to only look at games from 2021 as it relates to BGG, the data on BGG, which I know is not accurate all the time, but I wanted to scope it in on specifically 2021. That being the case, I do have some honorable mentions that have come from 2020 that more so were 2021 because they didn't really hit retail until 2021. And so I'm going to share that in the honorable mention section. Jeremy, I know you had a little tidbit about your list.
My list is a little bit different because, as I had to explain to Lance, one country may get this Kickstarter or this retail release in 2020 and everybody else gets it in 2021, or it's more readily available on the website. Everything on my list, as far as I know, from the best of my knowledge, has been available in the majority of countries that are primarily the most popular, to have a wider array of gamers that have tried these games. So my list is end of 2020, because I know I've gotten a couple of these Kickstarters or whatever end of December of 2020. Well, to me, that's a 2021 game.
Sure.
Because most people don't have it. It's not in retail, things like that. So my list is about end of 2020 to 2021, which I would call a 2021 game, which BGG may disagree with, but as I've stated, a lot of people, even right now in America, unless you've gotten Arc Nova or certain games at a convention, you can't get it. Golem, still no pre-order date. So
so those are 2022
so
games.
Again, a lot of people would say it's a 2021 game, but the majority of people, even in the US, can't even really play those games. So.
And another thing that I think we should probably throw out there, I went through the first 1,000 games that I could find on BGG from 2021, and I've played 89 out of those first 1,000. So you have to keep in mind, people are only able to play so many games. And so there's probably going to be some games out there that you all are going to be saying, what? How did you not include such and such?
Oh, I know. With my list, I already told you, I'm going to blow some people's minds with this list. And it's just, these are games that personally I found to be better games. And I can name all the ones I've owned a lot of these games, but I've also sold them because certain games do not appeal to me. I feel,
gotta move on to the next game.
I feel like they could be good. Well, I have a revolving shelf, so
same.
It can change at any minute, and then I can buy games that are already sold. So that happens too.
So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this, starting with our honorable mentions. I am going to throw out there a few from 2020, technically, that are more so 2021 games. And again, I only included 2021. So for me, Nidavellir is definitely on my list as an honorable mention. If you watch my video with Sam, that was my #1 game, but technically it's considered a 2020 game. It didn't release in America until 2021, but I'm putting that here on my honorable mention. Another honorable mention, Lost Ruins of Arnak, is such a great game, and I think you're going to hear of it again later on in this video. Fantastic game. It's just technically a 2020 game. Another one, real quick, is The Loop, which was also on that video that I did with Sam. It was at for pre-sale, I guess, at Gen Con last year, 2021. I taught a lot of you all how to play it if you were there. But technically it's a 2020 game because it was overseas before it came here. So that's another instance. But those are going to be just some honorable mentions. Not get that out of here. Some honorable mentions from 2021 that I do want to throw out there real quick are Micro Macro. That's such a fantastic game. I've recently gotten to play it. I haven't yet played it with Sam. And we are going to be doing a video in the near future on the new expansion for that. So be on the lookout for that.
Though. I don't think it's an expansion.
Yeah, it's not expansion, but the new version, yeah.
New edition.
Another honorable mention is going to be Solomon Kane for me. Big box game. I've got it up here. You can't see it. It's way up there. But it is a huge game. And I do have some more boxes down there.
That's worse than Bloodborne.
Huge game. It's barely not on the list. It's probably number 11 on my list. So there you go. That's my honorable mentions. What about for you, Jeremy?
I just threw out a couple. I'm pretty sure you may have a few of these that I'm not going to name. I mean, a lot of people have these games on their list. To me, I've owned them and haven't kept them. I mean, Sleeping Gods. I love Ryan Lockett and his games, but that one just didn't hit for me. Aetherfields, I played it several times, but just like Tainted Grail and some of their games, is a little. Some of the mechanics are, to me, a little bit iffy, but we did play that several times. Hadrian's Wall was not one for me. I know I'm pretty sure it's on his list. But Rowan Rights, I feel like there's no checks and balance, and once you make a mistake, I mean, that you can't take it back because you've already crossed off and gained these benefits and actions. So Rolling Realms is another 2021 game that I just sold. It's a good game, but to me, Rolling Rights are kind of like real time, not anything I really enjoy. Don't let me talk about one game that Lance loves. But my honorable mentions right now are Witchstone, which we've only played 2 players, so I wasn't ready to put it on a top 10 list. But I feel like it is a very solid 2-player game. On Instagram, I've seen other people have posted about it, playing a 2-player game and being very close. We ended up 100 to 99. So you can see it's one of those, and I mean, he loves these endings. So that I felt was a strong honorable mention. The other one would be Unfathomable. I never played Battlestar Galactica. I did get to play this once played a 4-player game, or 4 or 5, I think 4, and enjoyed it. It's not a game that I want to own or play often, but I did enjoy it, and I think it's a solid game for what it is. I think people should play it, just like TI4 or TI3 even. I wouldn't own that game, but I did enjoy the experience. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. I threw out just a bunch of games that most of the reviewers have had on their list. I do not. So like I said, some minds are melting, and my personal list is not going to be probably near the same as anybody else's.
All right, well, there you have it. So those are our honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and get into this with number 10. All right, so my number 10 is gonna be a little bit of a shocker probably for most, simply because it's a party game. And this was a game that Sam and I got to cover as a preview for its Kickstarter earlier in 2021. It is now here, and that is Hit the Silk from Escape Plan Board Games. This is a very highly thematic game. It is big on strategy. It's not super heavy necessarily, but I did want to throw in a party game on my list here, and man, I just enjoyed this game a lot. This is all about you've robbed someone and you've got a loot of money, but it's you against everyone else. It is not really cooperative. It's probably semi-co-op in the sense that you want to, once you get a parachute, you want to work together with everybody who has parachutes to kick off the last person who doesn't have a parachute so that you win. So it ends up being all against one, but you're not quite sure who is who. And you're playing, this is all about hand management and social deduction, trying to figure out what everybody's got. It's a solid game, super thematic. Had a lot of fun playing this one. So that is my number 10, Hit the Silk from Escape Plan Board Games.
I have no comment. I've never heard of the game. So it's a game I've just never heard of it or played it.
It's probably so new that a lot of people haven't heard it. You might have heard of their first game, which was Stop the Train, which is a big Kickstarter success out there. It was another similar idea, except this one was about a train and there's a bomb on the train. Another highly thematic game. So that's my number 10.
Never heard of it. So my number 10 is going to be Daimyo Rebirth of the Empire. We just put out a video for that. I did enjoy it quite a bit. It has a lot of mechanics to it. I actually like the weird theming of it as far as a futuristic samurai and stuff. I mean, it just spoke to me on Kickstarter. I didn't back it. I ended up buying a retail copy in 2021 when it's more available on their site after all the Kickstarter and everything, hence being possibly an into 2020 game that's on my list. But we played it with 4 full game, a lot of mechanics, a lot of paths that you can choose, and then just a lot of decisions. And the mechanic of the dice being used and having to think of 2 ways to use them for the action.
That was pretty cool.
And to play a card, as I've said in the other video, is similar to Gugong, which is another game I really enjoyed. Played it a few times and sold it. So like I said, it's a revolving door with my shelves so I can keep up with new stuff. But Daimyo Rebirth of the Empire I enjoyed, by La Boîte de Jeu, who I believe has made a few good games, and they have a new one coming out in March on Kickstarter, so I'm keeping my ear to the ground for that one just in case. All right, we're here to number 9, and my number 9 is a game that has been name dropped already in the video by somebody else. It's going to be The Loop. And we've played The Loop several times, and the majority of times we win because I have good cube dropping skills like dice rolling. But we have not beaten the Mega Godzilla
Super Machina or whatever it's called.
We've not beaten that one yet. We were 1 turn away.
Oh yeah.
So I like the challenge of it at that. I like that you can do different modes. But as I've stated to you, is I feel like playing it several times, I feel like the modes are kind of wearing out. And I know that there's an expansion coming, so I feel like that's going to help it. And with most of these games on the list, almost all of them, expansions were included. Now there is going to be one that has been used, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But other than that, the expansions haven't been used in my list, so it's just the core game. This one, the expansion's not out in America yet. It is in other countries, or it will be very soon, much sooner than we'll see it. But The Loop being a cooperative game, I do enjoy cooperative games. I like the time traveling, new theming of it. Components are pretty good. I feel like a couple things could be better, but overall, I like Pandasaurus because they throw in a lot of nostalgia into the components.
Great
I'm
theming.
a huge nostalgia guy, so I want to test out many of those games, and then they stay. But
yeah.
The Loop is going to be by Pandasaurus Games as number 9 on my list. Cooperative, exciting theming, and exciting nostalgia added into the game with a few different options, but I feel like it could wear its welcome, kind of like a Pandemic would, with no additives, just a couple modules into the rule book. So
it's a great game. My number 9 is a game that you've already heard mention, and that is Witchstone. As Jeremy mentioned in his honorable mentions, I really enjoyed the combination of the mechanics in that game. The tile laying for me really worked very well. I enjoyed having to put together the puzzle of trying to combine the different icons to boost up my actions. I enjoyed the route building, just the track progression. I mean, it was several of the things that I really like to see in games all combined into one. This, for me, is kind of the better version of Daimyo in the sense that it has lots of mechanics combined into one. This is a scenario in which it works, and I love the way it combines together with this.
There's not near as many mechanics in Witchstone. What it is tracks on tracks on tracks. That's what it is. There's a track here, track here, track here.
There's a little bit more than that. You're
but I'm just saying a lot of it is it's a point salad game similar to Daimyo, but a lot of it is just moving this track. There's not area control. I mean, there's route
and that's
building.
probably one thing about it. There's not area control, and I'm not a huge area control fan. I do just enjoy the things that are in Witchstone. But for me, again, I think the big thing was the tile laying mechanic. That really worked well for me, and that building into all of the other mechanics just really flowed pretty well for me. I enjoyed the drawing and keeping the tiles that you have hidden, and you're limited to those tiles, and so there is a little bit of a struggle there, but that really works well for me. And as Jeremy mentioned, it worked great at 2 players. I'd love to see it at the other player counts, but I enjoyed it enough to make it my number 9 game, and I'm excited to maybe see if I can't put out a review on that with Sam and see how it works with a non-gamer, so be on the lookout for that.
Well, and even when we played 2-player, Lance was like, oh man, you got all these good tiles, because I lined them up perfectly. I mean, I was doing 6, 7 of the same thing easily, but
I came back.
But you run out of being able to do that action. So once you get to the end of a track, guess what? You can't do it. So all that you worked for is done. So you got to go with a different one. So and then for the end, you had 3 or 4 that were lined up to just give you major actions. So I
it makes
think
for
it's
exciting
very
strong. Exciting finishes with this.
It doesn't have area control, but it does have route building. So it's a similar kind of theme there, but different.
All right, number 8. So my number 8 is a game that we put out a video for Hard to Master a while back. It is from Stonemaier Games, and that is Red Rising. This is a card-laying game in which you are trying to get the right hand of cards to score you the most points. There's going to be in-game points on a lot of the cards if you meet certain factors, certain requirements. You're also taking different actions on the board. You're laying down a card, picking up a card somewhere else, and taking that action so you can progress on a track or get more resources, something along those lines. And for me, the theme is, I've heard a lot of people say, well, this is kind of a themeless game. It's more abstract. I disagree. If you know the story, if you read the books, and if you know the characters, it really kind of speaks to all of that. And I feel like so much is lost if you're not familiar with that. I am familiar with the books, and so for me, it really did speak to me. It's a game that is, it's kind of transcends just the game itself because of what the books mean and what they stand for. And I know that Jamie, when he created that game, was going for that same sort of mindset. And for me, that's really cool. So I enjoy it. I love playing it at multiple different player counts. I will say 6 is as high as it goes, I think, and that can run a little bit long, but it's still a pretty enjoyable experience. Just really works well for me, and that's Red Rising from Stonemaier Games, my number 8 game.
It's not on my list at all, so I'm going to keep all my comments inside. So
foreshadowing.
It's not on my list. I'm telling you, it's just not. So my number 8 is actually going to be a game by Garphill Games. It came out at the end of 2020, but really started hitting retail and getting, depending on where you're searching for your games in different countries, became more available in 2021. And that's going to be Viscounts of the West Kingdom. We've played it a couple times now. I played it 3-player twice. And
just played it last night.
Yeah, and I've used the same mechanic twice. with the building, but I've had a builder card to begin the game. And if you have a master, your master card is a builder. I mean, that kind of sets you up because you could see I could rearrange, and he was on the board for the first seven.
He did a lot of work for you.
Buildings like crazy, and I had all but I think 2 or 3 buildings out of the whole game easily. So I'm interested to see more of when I'm using, because I have done a little bit of manuscripts, a little bit of the tower, not a whole lot of those. So I'm waiting for the right master or hero or whatever you want to.
They're heroes, aren't they?
Well, in Raiders they are, but here
okay.
I think they're just like a professional or master. But to start with one of them and see how it changes my strategy. But I do enjoy it. I like that it's. I enjoy almost all the games that, even Circadian's First Light, I enjoyed that when I had it. Also by Garfield, just different art design. I believe that's by Shim's brother Sam, I think, did the artwork for that. But with Viscount, in the hierarchy, I feel like Architects is easily the easiest. It could be a Lords of Waterdeep to me as far as introducing people into a worker placement game. And I love worker placement. Paladins is up here.
Yeah,
I just feel like there's so much, and you do a lot of it on your own board, but I feel like there's just so many more options that you're focused on, and you could have 8 people, and you've got to plan out at the beginning, where am I going to get more people, where am I going to put them? There's so much that you can have involved in that. I feel like Viscount is underneath it in the middle.
Yeah.
But it gives you a rondel movement, but it's not like,
it's really cool.
It's not like Crusaders, which is one of my favorite rondel movement games. We both enjoy that game.
I love that game. Somewhere, right? It's right there.
It's right here, yeah. Off my shoulder. But it's different in a way, and I like it a lot. Now, will I like it more than the others? I sold Architects, and I debate giving it back.
It is a rondel, but it's
different.
It's more movement than it is rondel, in the sense that you're limited to what card you play in as far as how you can move, and that's the action you have to take.
Well, it's kind of like in Crusaders, your rondel is you're moving all these cubes
and dropping them like
Manhollow. And as you drop them, you do actions. Whereas with this, you have a coin value on a card, and you may spend extra coins to move, or you may have the building that has allowed you to move more. But whenever you're moving around, and there's times where you want to go down and you can't. So you've got to, and Jacob had he had like 10 coins. I was like, just do a full loop. Do the full loop. And it worked for him. But I'm like, for me, it was like, I'd never had any money in that game. So
it's a game in which you are faced with a puzzle each turn of trying to figure out what's my optimal move here with the cards I have and the spaces that are available to me.
And where people are on the board. I don't want to let Lance reorganize.
Because if you meet up with where another person is, you're really helping them, optimize their board.
I'm going to keep my builder on the board even longer. So there's... That's another thing. There's just and then where you're going to place a building. Do I go on the outside to trade and build a building, or do I go on the inside to create a manuscript or add people to the tower?
Solid
you
choices.
You kind of have to balance it, but you really want to go for one pretty strong so you can maximize some points. But again, that's my number 8, Viscount of the West Kingdom. That whole West Kingdom series is great. If you haven't enjoyed any of it, check them out. There's even the new trilogy has been announced, so I look forward to seeing what's going to come with that, and the Viscount expansion. I look forward to that in the future as well. All right, here we go. Back at it again. Number 7. Number 7 is going to be Dinosaur World, also by Pandasaurus. Dinosaur World has made my list. I'm a big Dinosaur Island fan, as you've seen in a previous video that we've done. I believe that Dinosaur World is a great game as well. There's no reason that you couldn't have both on the shelves, or you make a wrong mistake, I think, by having, if you choose either one. But as far as being a 2021 game, Dinosaur Island, or not Dinosaur Island, but Dinosaur Island has been on my top 5 forever. So being a game that came out in 2021, Dinosaur World, naturally you would probably find itself on there. theming, the upgrades that they've done to components.
Yeah.
Taking, like I said, in Paladins, you get a set number of workers and you use them to gain resources and do actions on your board. That's how this begins in phase 1 of Dinosaur World. So that mechanic thrown into, well, hex placement to do. I mean, it's just adjusted. Again, I don't think at this point this is better than Dinosaur Island with some expansions in it. But I do think that it, over time it may be, just because it's updated mechanics to fit more 2021 and what's been revealed by other designers and publishers. So, but yeah, Dinosaur World, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. I'm telling you, nostalgia is just going to keep popping up on my list, and I mean, I love it.
These are old 2021 games.
And I'll tell you, I told Lance, every game on my list is still in the collection. I mean, I feel like that speaks to validity to my list, as if I have a game still on.
Sure.
And like I said, I have a revolving, I don't have near as much space as Lance, so my wife keeps it. I got to have a limited space.
If you're keeping it, you must really like it. So.
It just speaks to the validity. So,
well, it's interesting. I'm not going to say anything on your end of number 7, but it's interesting because my number 7 is also Dino World.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I've not seen his numbers.
Yeah.
He has not seen mine.
Pandasaurus games. You probably saw our video on Dinosaur Island and Dinosaur World, the comparisons and the contrasts there. And you'll recall from that video that we both really liked, well, we really liked both games.
Yeah.
But in that video specifically, the things that I very much enjoyed about Dino World were the tile laying aspects the hex tile, and building the park and getting them in the right spaces to maximize the Jeeple tour. That for me was my favorite part of the game. It still has everything that you like about Dino Island in it, such as the using the DNA to create dinosaurs, having to manage your threat, building up your security, even things like getting staff and whatnot. It still has all of that. It's just done in kind of a more streamlined, condensed way, whereas the focus is on putting the tiles and building the park and managing the park. All of that really works well for me. Again, just like what Jeremy said, I agree. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than Dino Island. They're two different games, and I think they both stand on their own. They're both great games to have in your collection. For me, Dino World was my number 7 game of 2021. I really enjoyed it.
You know what probably would have made it go number 1 though? Is if there's some mechanic in the game
to add them both.
No, some
it'd be like two tables put together.
Some mechanic in the game where one of the visitors runs to the bathroom.
The
T-Rex gets out, and when you gotta go, you gotta go. I mean, there's no way to do that probably, but if there was some weird, like you roll the die, like a tile says, you roll the die, and he got eaten on the toilet.
You move them enough spaces to the outhouse.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I bet. Number 1, let's just leave. Forget the other 9.
All right, so my number 6 game of 2021 is a...
Funfair.
No, not
Funfair. Just kidding.
I do like Funfair, yes. But my number 6 game is a more streamlined, lighter in a sense version of its big brother from a while back, and that is Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. This is more of a card tile action selection version of Terraforming Mars. And this is one I backed on Kickstarter. I still own. It's right behind Jeremy's head there. And this is a game that is not nearly as dense and heavy as its big brother Terraforming Mars. It also doesn't take up as much space, but it is still highly strategic, and it's in a different way because the way it handles the action selection, you only get to do the actions that are picked by the players that round. And so if there's not an action that's picked for that round, you don't get to take it. Unlike Terraforming Mars, where you're going through every phase and you get every phase, you only get the phases that you selected or somebody else selects. And if somebody else selects it, you get kind of a smaller benefit. You don't get the full full-on benefit, or you don't get the bonus benefit. I really enjoyed the way that that's worked out with the terraforming Mars idea and trying to get to the different requirements for the end game. It all just really works well for me. So much so that I'm more likely to get Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition to the table than I am regular Terraforming Mars, and that's just simply because of the footprint and the time commitment. You can play Ares Expedition a lot quicker than you can regular Terraforming Mars. So I really enjoyed it. Worked well for me. That's from Stronghold Games, and that is my number 6 game.
I've not played that one.
We got to get to the table.
I have the original with the big box. So,
you got the 3D tiles.
For me, I'd rather have the dense, long table presence of
it. Is that is still cool.
So.
That is still cool.
But I did look at that campaign, so I'm aware of it. I've looked at it. I mean, I see it in retail all the time, but for me, it was, well, I have the big box coming.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people probably did pass up on it just because of that factor. Mm-hmm. I mean, Terraforming Mars is such a great game.
And I'm not opposed to playing that one. Yeah. That's not one that I'm like, I don't want to play because I have this. It's not like Dinosaur World and Dinosaur Island where I'm like,
right. Yeah.
They're two totally different games that have just the same dinosaur Jurassic Park, Jurassic World theme that I'm like, I'll make space for both of these. But that one, it's like, I just got rid of all Mars because I have Terraforming Mars, and that may hurt some of y'all's ears. But
Lacerda fans are going crazy.
I broke up the Lacerda collection a while ago. I'm sorry. I had it going, but I was like, I gotta have space, and I can get the new one, and let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. So, which leads me right into my number 6, which is going to be a game by Vital Lacerda, but it is going to be Kanban EV. I know it's kind of a re-implementation of the original edition, but I think this is going to be much more, if it hasn't already become much more popular than the previous editions. Ian O'Toole and that team up is just another one of those.
Works well.
That's hard. It's like a Eric Lang and Carl Kopinski or Adrian Smith. I mean, those are just major matchups that you gotta take an interest if you're a heavy gamer. I know Lance is not a big Lacerda fan. I'm sorry.
I like Escape Plan.
But usually he's like, I don't understand it. I don't know what I'm doing. And,
it takes me a good few playthroughs.
I like heavy games. So, but with Kanban, I played it 3-player, and it was pretty solid. I liked that it didn't feel too overwhelming. I feel like On Mars or Lisboa felt quite a bit heavier, like there was more going on that confused some of my friends, whereas Kanban, even a friend of ours that has only been gaming with us for a month or two actually enjoyed it and kind of knew what he was doing. And actually, I think I got last place in that game, which I had a migraine and no excuses, but I played awful. I played awful. I was awful.
And you still liked it.
But I did. Oh, I did, because it's still a solid game. It's not. I don't have to win every game to like it. But I actually am looking forward to getting it back to the table, and I would like to show it to you.
Yeah, I like the way it looks.
It's just we were trying to get through these 2021 games, and now I got a stack of 2022 games. I'm eagerly excited to get through, including one I got today. But Kanban EV is a solid game, and I feel like it's, as you get going, and we played with the easy Sandra. I think it's Sandra. That may just be the other name from Escape Plan, but the boss. We played the easy way just because we were getting used to the game and knew. Next time I would probably try the harder way just to see how much more painful it will be. But as far as the actions, I've worked in the car business for several years, so I mean, it all made sense in the process of how manufacturing goes with cars. And then you got the boardroom. I mean, I've been in the environment, so the theming, I'm not a huge car guy, but working in the environment, it really, the theming still landed with me, because I've seen a lot of this stuff ins and outs as far as logistics with parts. And so Kanban EV, I mean, you got component quality, you've got artwork, you've got a famed designer like a lot of the ones on my list, and then you've got a theme that hits me on a professional level at times. I'm not in the car business currently, but I've been in it several years, so I understand a lot of it. And then a solid gameplay that's still not too difficult. It's not as easy as Escape Plan to teach and play, but I don't feel like it's... I mean, you thought the Gallerist was very hard. That's my favorite Lacerda, and but I think this would still be a little bit easier to teach you than that one.
Okay. All right.
But it's a solid game. If you're a heavy gamer, that one's not super heavy, but it's in the heavy realm. So
there you go.
And here we go. Another one that's going to knock some people's socks off is going to be a game by Eric Lang. And that's going to be Ankh, which is the ending of the spiritual successor trilogy of Blood Rage, Rising Sun, and Ankh. I love Rising Sun. I still think that's my favorite of the three. I like the negotiation type diplomacy aspect of it. Alliances or not being allied, and how the betrayal as far as including combat and area control as well. I've painted all Rising Sun, so that has a place. Am I going to paint all of Ankh? I don't think so. I painted all the monuments and everything. I painted all the camels the other day, which is 30 camels.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint the Guardians because I like painting monsters. But as far as the gods and everything, I don't want to. It's one of them games where I don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I did tackle Batman Gotham City Chronicles. I'm in the middle of Marvel United and things like that. That I'm like, I don't want to screw that up either. And what am I getting myself into? I'm like, I don't want to paint anymore. But I felt I don't think I'm gonna paint it all the gods and characters. I don't feel like I need to. I still like having the ability to see who you are based on your color easily. I know for some people that doesn't matter to them, but when I'm playing with you guys, I feel like having, even in Scythe, I feel like changing the colors drastically makes it quite a bit harder for you just out of the corner of your eye. I mean, even I play blue all the time, and you should have noticed yesterday that I had to put you back and grab my piece because I let y'all play. I let whoever played blue, and I played yellow.
Yeah.
And then I had to like, oh wait, shoot, that's not me.
Yeah, sure.
That's you, and adjust it. I feel like with painting those colors, it's kind of the same thing. Like it makes readability a little difficult.
Yeah.
So I won't paint it all, but I do love the series. I think Eric Lang is one of my favorite designers. I mean, Coleman or not gets a lot of dinero from me. Or Come On Games. But area control, I like that there's a lot of options. I mean, if you've gotten all the stuff, the Pantheon box and everything, I mean, the very replayability can just change drastically. Have we played all the expansions or even the Pharaoh box, which I want to play next time? No. Just the base core game, I've played two god characters, and it's different. I mean, it's not. I mean, you have a minor variability in your godly power, but it's not like. But you're still playing the game the same, so it's not a true asymmetric game. You just have an ability, and I think it's solid. I need to play more. Scenarios, but having the same type of cards, playing the cards, and having to play the cycle of Mott to get your cards back because you know you're about to be in 3 battles, and when do you get them back? Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different type of area control combat type of game by him. And it's just a different theme. Egyptian mythology is great too. So my number 5, solid top 5, is going to be Ankh.
I don't have anything to say because you might hear about it here in a little bit.
Really? I will be shocked if you bump that up. You don't like area controls. So.
I know I just said that, but...
No, you say it all the time.
My number 5 is not Ankh. It is Furnace from Arcane Wonders. And Furnace was a game that I had on my top 10 list with Sam, and what I enjoy most about Furnace is its versatility. It is a game that I can break out with my heavy gamer friends and play with them because I feel it stands well on its own with heavy gamers. It is not a heavy game. It is an easy game to understand and play. But that being said, it is so thinky. It is such a fun experience that it's not one that I'm going to be like, I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm confident that when I bring it out, most people are going to have fun with it. And it is still very light. Well, I shouldn't say light. It's very straightforward enough that I can play with casual gamers like Sam and feel like she's going to be able to understand it and hold her own in that game and have fun doing so, as we talked about in our review video on Furnace. Solid betting experience with this one, where you are not always betting in order to win, because sometimes you want to lose so that you get the compensation reward to help you run your engine, which is really what this game is. It's an engine building game. It is all about turning one cube into a different resource I don't care about that. I care about the experience of getting those cards and the way the betting works and the winning in that. It can go so many different ways sideways, and every time it's just a fun experience because what I thought was going to happen didn't, and I'm okay with it because it's just like, whoa, I did not see that happening. All right, what do I do now? And again, I can break it out in just almost any game night setting. It's going to get played quite a bit because of that. And so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck as far as, you pay a price to play the game, and each time you bring it to the table, you're dividing that price into the number of plays. And so you're getting a lot of entertainment value out of this game. So very much enjoy it. That's Furnace from Arcane Wonders.
Yeah, you did keep pitching it to me, but
he won't try it.
I don't know. I've seen videos and it's betting. I don't know.
He's not a betting fan, but
I mean, it's not that I'm not a betting fan. It's when I'm thinking about what games I want to play, it's like
it doesn't reach that list.
It doesn't seem heavy enough.
Well, it is. It's not a heavy game, but
I mean, like I said, I would say play it after we've played something and we have like 30, 40 minutes left.
All right, so my number 4 is a game that was just mentioned not that long ago, and that's going to be Ankh. I don't typically like area control games, as Jeremy mentioned. As I've mentioned in other videos, it's not a mechanic that I do very well with. However,
but you do well in Scythe solo.
I do pretty good in Scythe no matter what. I just with Ankh, I think the way it's done is so clever. The combat is totally unique. It's not something you see in many games, like Jeremy mentioned when he talked about it. I like the timing of the track of the way in which you get different rewards and benefits, and you're really trying to time that out to be the person who is the one who triggers that, so that you're the one who gets those benefits. I enjoy that aspect of trying to play that game of timing it out to when it happens on your turn. Everything about Ankh is just, it works well for me. It's my favorite out of the 3 that you have there, with Blood Rage and Rising Sun. As Jeremy said, I'm not a huge Rising Sun fan.
You do not like it.
I know. I probably have to turn in my gamer card because of that.
And creating an alliance.
Don't do well in Rising Sun, but Ankh is a game that I feel like it's so different from Rising Sun, and yet you can see how it's still in the same line of games.
Yeah.
For me, it just works. It's something that I want to play more of. And as you mentioned, the different expansions add so much to this that I feel like it is. I mean, I know Rising Sun has its expansions, but not in the same way as what Ankh is.
No, I mean, there's only 7? I think 7, maybe 8 clans. I think it's 7. I don't know if you have the Fox. So 8 clans that you can choose from, I believe, in the original Rising Sun.
Yeah.
With the Fox clan and the expansion. But then you have the Lucky God. So it's a whole different type of replayability because you have different monsters in it. But with Ankh, I mean, they put out, I think you have 13 different options. You have 2 stretch goal gods with their clan
and
their
changes
abilities.
the game.
And you have another 5 or 6 in the Pantheon.
Right.
I mean, and then you have the Pharaoh expansion with the priests.
You could go on and on with that.
I mean, it's just so much that I look forward to trying more of it. The hard part is there's only so much time in a day.
That is true.
We have lives, so, which makes it very hard.
But Ankh is a solid game for me, and that's why I had to put it on my list. And I put it pretty high. I put it at number 4. So there you go.
Well, my number 4 is a game we played last night. It is Dune Imperium. We played it, I think, back-to-back weeks I've played it. I played a 4-player game and a 3-player game. I feel like the 4-player game I liked better just because I like tightness, as I've told you. I like the tightness in Agricola versus the little bit more leniency in Caverna. I made several mistakes in the first game of Dune Imperium by forgetting to play my combat intrigue card after I won a combat. And then I had to go back and try and win one. And I kept getting blocked. Not like they beat me, but they tied me both times, which I could never play that card anymore, which cost me to lose the game when I could have won it, a round or 2 before. But then playing it yesterday, I didn't make those mistakes, but I also had more freedom in the board in a 3-player game where I could go here and there. I have not gotten the Rise of Ix yet, so I can't compare that. I haven't played all the houses in it, but I still think it is a very strong worker placement game with deck building. We've done a video for Lost Ruins of Arnok. I feel like they are 2 totally different games. I mean, they have deck building aspect into it, and they have worker placement aspect into it, and you use the cards to do the worker placement, but it's quite different. I mean, having those cards and only being able to go to certain places, which is still, I feel, quite a bit more limited depending on what cards you have, because some of them don't let you move anywhere. It's not that they have a boot or a jeep or an airplane. They have no place to move. They're strictly for persuasion or combat. But then the cards that you don't play, you have persuasion to buy new cards to upgrade that deck, which help you later, or you have those swords to help you maybe win a combat battle or actually get into the battle a little bit more so that you might get second or even get a benefit out of it. So it's quite a bit different than Arnok in that aspect too, as far as playing the cards, having those cards, and you have to play them because you can't keep any cards, so you have to play them. And when you have to play them, well, they give you these benefits automatically. It just felt quite different. I like that it feels that there's combat into it, so there's more player interaction as far as that. The one thing that kind of knocks it a little bit for me is I already have 2019 Dune, which I feel is a strong game for like an epic night. If I wanted to have an epic night of Dune, obviously Dune Imperium is going to get played more. But I feel like the overall experience is a little bit better in the original Dune, and this is just the same theme onto an easier, more accessible game to play. But I still think it is a very great game. It's going to be my number 4, and this is, once you hear my top, you're going to just be so upset. And I apologize. But again, these are my top.
Not yours.
All these games are on my shelves, so it's not like I have no validity, that I just pick games that I don't really enjoy and want to own and keep. So.
Well, and I'm about to say something a little controversial myself. I know you're not going to agree with me probably, and that is that I enjoyed Dune Imperium. I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Lost Ruins of Arnok. And you mentioned both of them, and they have the similarities, and they've been compared. And I know Dune Imperium gets the higher ratings over Lost Ruins of Arnok, but if I have the choice between the two, I'm almost always going to go with Arnok. Probably so.
I mean, I think I'm 50-50, really. I mean, when I made my list, and you'll find out later. But I play either one. I like that it's what I like about another thing I like about Dune Imperium is it's a race to 9 points plus.
That is true. I
It's
do
a
enjoy that.
Or 10 points.
10
It's a race
points.
to 10 points plus. So if I get 10 points, I may still not win.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's totally different. Whereas in Ornoc, it's how many points can you get?
Yeah.
It's a total point salad. Whereas this one, I get points on this track, I get points on this track. It's not just combat. If you're just solely getting combat, I was really fighting hard for combat in the first game. The last one yesterday, it was like, well, I'm going to try and win this battle. Oh, nobody wants that, so let me just win it.
Yeah.
And then, but let me see what I can do to move up these tracks. First game, I was real quick to get my swordsman. The last game, I was the last one to get the swordsman. First game, I don't know if I ever got to the council. Maybe at the end. This game, I was still the last one to get to the council. But I had a different faction. I didn't like my ability. I never used it. If you noticed, I maybe used it once, maybe twice. But my ability this time was much worse because I had your faction's ability the first game, and I liked putting a cube in there.
Yeah, I had
Even though I didn't play the signet ring.
I had
very
Drax.
much,
Drax's faction.
yeah, but I still got to use it a couple times. I was like, fuck, I didn't really use mine last night, but I didn't need to. Even the last battle I got, I'm not even going to join the battle because I already got my 10 points. I'm going to buy me a spice card because I can buy spice cheaper because I bought this card, or spice must flow. And but I like, to me, again, they feel two totally different. Yes, you're moving up tracks, but you're moving 4 tracks versus 1 track with 2 pieces that can't cross. And then the race to 10 points versus just a point salad. How many points can you get? I do like them both. Like I said, they're very close for me as far as how much I like them. So to say I would always choose one or the other, I wouldn't, because I would get either one to the table.
Yeah.
Probably just the base game about the same amount of time. Like I said, I don't have the Rise of Ix. I do have the expansion to Arnok. I've not used it, but I think that will make Arnok much better than Ix. I think Arnok's expansion will make it much increasingly more beneficial than the Rise of Ix will make for Dune Imperium.
There you go.
But
Interesting.
I haven't played it, so I can't either one. So I can't tell you. So that's, like I said, most of these games we've not touched an expansion to them, just to, it's more fair that way. But I can't say that for one of them. Which leads us right into my number 3, and that's going to be the Lost Ruins of Arnok.
You had a higher. Okay.
I
was
told
wrong.
you I could. Boy, I haven't had it on the list yet. You know it's going to be on the list.
Yeah, I should have known.
But like I said, they're very even for me. The thing that pushes Arnok up for me, and again, we've just been talking about the base game, but I think that artwork and theming, since I already have a Dune game, not that it's bad, I just feel like Dune is a little plain. I just got the Levity Games Meeple stickers, which make the Solari and the water and the spice look so much better. So we're not sponsored by them, but just so you know, Meeple
out there
and Levity Games, those two companies on Etsy, if you want to spice up your games a little bit, it looks so much better.
Agreed.
But it's very plain, whereas Arnok, again, there were things that were kind of plain about it. I've since upgraded them. But Arnok, like I just said, Arnok's expansion leads me to believe that it's going to be a little bit better. I like the theming of it, knowing that I'm going to have more of a... I feel like the variableness in the, I think 6, maybe 7 characters in the expansion, expedition leaders, is going to change the game quite a bit more in how you play than the house faction. And granted, we've only played the level 1 factions, and I glanced at the level 2, level 3, and the way you play them is quite a bit different as far as, but and it sounds tougher because you have to get rid of cards and stuff, I think, on some of them to do certain actions. So not to say that Dune Imperium isn't great, not to say that it isn't improved by the faction abilities. Not to say that Rise of X, the expansion, doesn't make it a better game. I hear it makes it quite different. Theming, artwork, components. I think all those things are a little bit better in what CGE or Czech Games Edition has done with Arnok. Now, I wish the box size was not long, and that's a gripe I have with Lost Ruins of Arnok. But I was able to fit the expansion in, just like I could fit the expansion into the base Dune Imperium box if I didn't want to go for the. I don't really know if I need the minis, but I do like the trays in it in the deluxe box. But I just feel like gameplay. I know I can use a card to get a coin. I know I can always, the hierarchy of where you're going, assistant on the board, racing up the temple. I think thematically, because it's a theme that I find more enjoyable, it's slightly above. And I am much more eager to play the expansion for that than maybe some of the other factions or the expansion to Dune Imperium. So that's why I put Arnok just above it. But again, both very, very close. I feel both are very different in the feel, even though they have similar mechanics. Both really great games, and I would get either one out probably around the same amount of time. Especially if I get Rise of X and I throw that in with the Dreadnoughts and the other board and stuff. I feel like I'd be like, okay, well, let's try this, and we'll throw in some different factions. Just like let's throw in expedition leaders, put this board, let's switch it up. Both, like I said, have a little bit of upgrading to them as far as the meeple stickers or this or that versus upgraded coins and stuff. So again, either one, you asked me if we were like, okay, well, we're caught up on all these games. Let's do one of these. Okay, let's flip a coin, or you pick. I don't care.
I'm going to pick Arnok.
You are, but I usually send a message and everybody picks a different one, and then I've got to be the tiebreaker, so I flip a coin.
And as I said in our Arnok video, so I'm not gonna say too much on it because you can go watch that video, but as I said in that video, for me, I really enjoyed how you're racing up that track, and it's visual. You can see what you need to do, not only to progress one level, but 2 or maybe even 3 levels in a turn. And that builds you are able to do that because of the card play from the deck building, or the resources that you gain from going to the different places and conquering the monsters, the different locations and everything. One thing leads to another, which leads to success in that game. And I just feel it all flows so well. It really works well for me. And it's a game that makes me want to come back and keep playing it. So
I feel like the only randomness, though, in Dune Imperium is the cards that come out, whereas in Arnok, there is more randomness.
There is, yeah.
But I feel like...
I'm okay with that.
I feel like with Dune Imperium, I'm very like, I've got to win this. This is it.
It's a very serious thing.
Yeah, it's like... It can be very tight. I'm doing combat. I'm trying to get to this track first. Someone can take a point away from me, or if I move down, I lose a point. I feel like it's very serious. Whereas Arnok, I'm like, oh shoot, the hippopotamus. I'm not going to be able to complete this. I'm taking a fear card, and I'm not first player, so I'm not going to be able to do that. And that's just bad luck.
Yeah.
Where can I make this up? I feel like it's much more lighthearted.
It is a lighter feel to it. Yeah.
I mean, it feels good to accomplish it, and there is a strategy to it and do that, but I feel like there is more randomness in, okay, these assistants came up. Oh, this monster came up. Oh, this tile with this monster came up. So I feel like and then you got these cards that come out that are also random. So I feel like there's quite a bit more randomness in Lost of Arnok, but I feel like it's a little bit more lighthearted expedition adventure, and you're like I feel like you have more theming into it a little bit.
All right, so my number 3, we're on number 3, right? Is that what we're doing here?
Number 3.
Okay, number 3 game, lost track there. is another huge box. I mentioned Solomon Kane in my honorable mentions. This is another huge box game. It's another one that's on top of my shelf. You can't see it. It's way up there.
You played it?
I have played this game, yes, and that is Assassin's Creed. This is from Triton Noir. This is a game in which you are playing out the video game Assassin's Creed, or at least in an analog board game version of it.
Plastic version.
But it's got the same feeling of stealth and subterfuge and just kind of trying to sneak your way into places and stabbing somebody in the back with your hidden blade and then getting out before anybody knows what's going on. You're hiding, you're avoiding people, you're doing detection tests, you're working together. This is a cooperative game where everybody has they're going out on different parts of the map and you're all trying to stay hidden. And once one of you is detected, man, does the game get challenging. It just ramps up way high.
That's like in the game though. That can, in a video game, they chase. You know, I'm horrible at being stealth sometimes.
And this is a beautiful game. I know that the tiles are all flat, but I've 3D printed some things, and if you go out on the internet and you go onto Thingiverse and you check out what some people have done, you can 3D print little facades that you can put your roof tiles on, and it gives it some elevation along with that giant bell tower if you got that. And man, does that I can't reach it. It's way up there. You want to try and get that thing?
Pants don't fall.
Yeah, don't fall off.
Look at this.
There it is.
I told you should paint it though.
Oh no, that would take a whole bunch of time and paint.
I can paint it in a day.
But man, isn't it? It's just the table presence with this game makes it so memorable. I mean, it's something that almost everybody knows about Assassin's Creed. You've probably played the video game, and if you haven't, oh well, it's such a cool thing. The storyline is just like the video game. It sucks you in. You're replaying these memories from a really cool time period. Everything about it I love. There's even the mini game in between scenarios where you're kind of, you're taking care of your people that are in your group, and it's not just the assassins. You have the courtesans and the thieves and the other people. I mean, there's just a lot going on there that really kind of keeps the intrigue level high, even in between missions. The one downside to it, as is the case with all of the big box games, there's a ton of components, and so the setup and teardown is going to be excessive. So if you're going to play this, it's more than likely going to be the only thing you do that night. So as long as that's something that you understand about it, you're going to have a good time with this. Now, the other downside to this is it's pretty hard to get a hold of right now, and it's expensive. So if you can get access to a copy and you're not paying your mortgage for it, I would highly suggest getting it because, man, is it fun. It is a blast to play. So that is my number 3 game.
I told you I wanted to play this one. I haven't played it, but I've told him I've played the video games, and
You get a little hay barrel thing that you can dive into.
I need you to do one thing for me, Lance. Cue the bell!
Dong.
No, I mean really go in and put a bell. Put a bell sound. Just test your editing skills.
All right, we're up to our top 2 games of 2021. My number 2 game is a game that I have played a ton of here lately, solo. There is a solo campaign that you can download off of Renegade Games website and go try. And I will tell you, it is super challenging. It is very difficult, but yet I keep coming back to it because I want to try to advance down the campaign of it. And that is Hadrian's Wall. I know Jeremy mentioned that. That's not a game that's really worked well for him. So you'll hear his thoughts here in just a second on it. I want to tell you why I like it so much. This is it's a flip and write. It's not a roll and write, but it's the same idea. Mm-hmm. And it's simultaneous. Everybody's going to be doing this at the same time. It's not like I flip over a card and I get the bonus action. Everybody gets these smaller benefits. No, it's the same for everybody. The agency in this game is what you're choosing to use the resources that you get from your main card, and you have your own deck of cards that you draw 2 from, and you're picking one to play and the other to be as your end game scoring points for. And on the card that you play, you get different resources from it. So there is a little agency there, but it's all about what you're doing on your 2 boards. You have 2 boards that you're playing on. And this is all sort of like if you've played Donjon Clever, Twice as Clever, the Roll and Write series of games where you are advancing on different tracks, and as you advance, you get to advance on other tracks, or you get to re-roll dice, or you get to do certain things. This is the same idea, except on steroids. You are going to be going on 20 different tracks. It's probably even more than that, quite honestly. And this unlocks that, which unlocks this, and you're just going to be comboing one thing after another, and you might start the round with a set of 8 workers and 5 bricks. And you would think, okay, well, I've got like 4 actions there that I can use. But when you do those actions, you get all of these other benefits that you unlock, and it ends up being about 10 to 12 actions that you might be doing before you run out of things. And it's all about just prolonging how much you can get done each round, because you only get 6 rounds. And man, every time I play it, I surprise myself, because I start and it starts off slow, and I get to about round 3 where I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not going to get what I need done. And then 3 rounds later, I'm look back at it and I'm like, how did I do that? And so every time I play this,
I wanted the same things too.
That's because I play right, and I feel I walk away from this feeling so rewarded in the way I play it, because it unlocks things for you, and you feel like you really accomplished something. Even when you don't win, you feel like you accomplished something. So Hadrian's Wall, my number 2 from Renegade and Garfield Games. Go check that one out.
Here's what I'm going to say about that, because we've talked about it. I think that Hadrian's Wall would be a great solo game. Now, I am not a solo gamer. I have solo gamed games before. I've solo gamed this War of Mine, and I loved that game 3 times. It's a win or lose solo game.
That game stinks.
No, I did it 3 games.
I do not like that game.
It's like a holiday break. I was like, let's set it up. Day 1,
So
day 2.
depressing.
Day 1, you died. Day 2, you won barely. Day 3, you died again. but I've done the Chronobot in Anachrony. I've done several. I don't know. It's tough for me to solo. I'm just not really into it. I keep going, oh, well, maybe I should play Final Girl. Maybe, that's a win or lose. And I love horror movies. And, Dr. Ravenous, or whatever his name is like Freddy Krueger. But I'm like, well, it's not available. And I really don't know if I need that. Ooh, here's a game that plays more people. With Hadrian's Wall, we played it. And I enjoyed as I was going. The problem I have, and it's not just Hadrian's Wall, it's with the Flip and Write or Roll and Write, is in a normal board game, we do actions. You see what goes on. Somebody gets a resource. They get a resource. If somebody makes a mistake, which happens, it's usually not on purpose, or if they don't understand a rule, like in Rolling Realms, you see that and you can correct or ask them about it, and they can explain. With Hadrian's Wall, there's so much chaining and so much benefit getting and action getting that once I gain that and I go down this path, there's no way you're going to be able to backtrack it. And there's no checks and balances. True. And in the game we played, not that it was a bad game, but that you and another player that was playing with us made a mistake. And then you were thinking back the moves, and somebody couldn't do this and somebody couldn't do that, just like another person. Is like, well, there's no checks and balances. A solo game that makes sense because I'm going through, and I think it could be an amazing solo game because how many points can I get or do this, or maybe the solo campaign. For me, I would, and I've done Clans of Caledonia solo, and it's a point game. I think I would prefer a win or lose, and not, I got to get this many points to beat this Automa character or this or that. But when I play that type of game with other people, there's no sense of, because mistakes happen in games all the time. We talk about it even in our reviews when we make a mistake explaining something, or we watch videos and certain people that put out videos, they are known to make mistakes, and then you have Klingon channel and all this, and I'm perfectly fine if somebody makes a mistake. It's not the end of the world, but being able to see that and we correct it, it doesn't change 6 different benefits or actions, and there's you go down this rabbit hole that you can't take it all back. Even in a game, sometimes you go, well, I can't take that back. And then you're like, oh, wait, well, yeah, I have to do this. And so I could take it back. But sometimes I can't take that back. So it's like, I got away with this. But with that game, I feel like it changed so much. And you get so much stuff that if you make an accidental error, and I'm not saying people cheat, but when you make an accidental error, you gain so much benefit from that it is, you can't go back. There's no way
to make... It is easy to make
mistakes.
There's
a lot going on.
There's certain tracks that you're not able to advance down if you haven't advanced down other tracks.
Exactly.
And it's easy to not remember that. So,
and I was super excited for it. I will tell you, I was super excited for it. I knew it was on shot. I was super excited. I got it for Christmas from a family member. We played it together. You had played it at BGG Con. You loved it, raving about it. I was like, well, I'm excited for it. I like the artwork. I like Bobby Hill designed this, but I think this is who designed it. Artwork.
Oh.
He did the artwork. I thought
I
thought it was Sam Phillips. I thought it was Shim's brother. I could be wrong, but I liked the artwork of it. I liked Raiders of Scythia. I really would like to get it. I just can't justify it because I have all the Raider stuff. And if I put in all the Raider stuff, I have more of a game there. So it keeps me from getting Raiders of Scythia. I was excited for this because of the artwork, because of the game itself. Played it with people, and I felt like there's just too much opportunity for errors, which ruin the game.
I will say, I think that's a thing that if you're playing with people familiar with the game, you're not likely to experience as much. If you can get through the learning curve and the mistakes that are going to happen, because Jeremy's right, there are going to be mistakes in your first few plays, and if you can get through that and you can get to a point where everybody understands how the game works, then you're not likely to experience that too much, or maybe not at all, because I don't make mistakes having played it as many times as I played it now. And I think you get to a point where you realize,
that's a lot of investment.
It is.
I mean, it's like teaching an asymmetric game, kind of. Not that it's, but everybody has to know how to play so well that you can't make mistakes, and you have to be able to trust that they're not going to. The solo, I think it would be a solo gamer, which is you love to solo, so on your list. But I love to game with people. To me, that is socialization. You work on so many social skills that, for me, I just can't put it on the list at all.
And it is an ISO game
because of that potential for error.
You don't have. I mean, there is the smallest little sprinkling of interaction in the game. You're really focused on your own. The only interaction is whether or not I want to give you a resource to use the number on your card or not.
And so it's so hard for you to know if somebody made a mistake.
Yeah,
I mean,
but if there was a tournament for this game, oh man, I would be all in on that.
And I think you should do it.
I would be all in on that. So. Convention coordinators out there.
So a tournament would need to be, here's a tournament. You have a referee over everybody's shoulder, and they just do their own game, and you just check scores, and you're like, oh man, this person you have a leaderboard on Topgolf.
I would just all down for that.
Tells you who's in first, second, third, fourth, and the referee's
Sign me up.
You're out! Cheated!
Sign
error!
All right, anyway,
he just rips your paper up. He's like, you can't it! That'd be hilarious. I might watch that series.
It'd make a good video.
That'd be pretty funny.
That was my number 2 game, Hadrian's Wall, Garfield, and Renegade Games. What's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 has already been spoken, and if you follow me on Instagram or even in our some of our previous videos, we've done a video for this. It's going to be Red Rising.
Not your number 1.
This was my number 1.
Not your
for
number
the
1.
longest time, but we played it the other day, and I found kind of I wouldn't say a flaw, but it's an opportunity that made the game overstay its welcome at the player count. So we've played a 6-player game, and that was long, having a player that did not know. We had several that didn't know how to play, but that's fine. But they seemed like they played games and caught up. Then we had one guy that took him 15 minutes to do his first move, had no clue, and we had to keep, helping him. And it took like an hour and a half or so, with maybe even longer, hour and a half, hour 45 for 6 players. So it was a very long game. I played a 3-player game the other day with Apollo, Ceres, and House Diana, and it was an hour and a half.
Ooh.
And the reason it was because when you have 2 houses that don't gain a resource to automatically move up,
okay,
and nobody's getting that, you only have one that's doing that, the game can stall.
Yeah.
And I never liked to scout this much. I scouted the last 8 to 10 turns because I wanted the game just to end. But being House Series, I'm limited on how I could do it, and I had to control the Institute. That was where I was going to get a bunch of points. While doing that, at that point, I didn't even care if I won or lost. The game went on an additional 30 to 40 minutes.
And it didn't
more
need
than
to.
it needed to. And it didn't. It needed to because it helped one person get more helium to have the most, and it helped another person do this. Both of them didn't want to end it when they could have. They were one away on this track, and they just started working on the other 2 tracks. And it just felt so long. And I couldn't boost it fast enough. Like I said, it took me like 8 turns. I had to maximize my Institute, so I had the most. That took me 4 turns, and then I had to spend the next 5 turns or so just trying to scout to boost the game. And I love Red Rising. I think it's very easy to get to the table. It's very easy to teach. Everybody we play with enjoys it and usually wants to buy a copy. It's caused me to start reading the book, even though I've had like a 2-month break because I've been too lazy to read or something. But I really love being able to know which characters kind of line up. And I'm to the point where not only do I try to maximize points, but I try to create chapters in the book. And I've had actually successful games where I'm like, I just read this chapter 22, and look, this is it. We've got the Howlers, and we've got Severo, and we've got all these golds, and look at this. And I've created this team of like a chapter of the book. And it's so fulfilling it still ended up winning, but it just felt so much more because the cards were out there, and I made it a purpose to try and put these people together. And it made it more of a challenge because I feel like I'm pretty good at the game. I've played it so many more times, so now I've given myself another challenge, which is weird and crazy, but I've created another challenge to try to get this team together and still have the most points. And so it's been number one.
Game within the game.
I love the game. It does not get played near as much as it did when we first started hitting the table. We played probably 20 times in the last several months. And that's uncalled for with our group usually. It's 2, maybe 3 times within a certain period like that. But I love Stonemaier games and a lot of what they do. I really like this game and the fact that it's drawn me into the series and the universe. I like that. I know a lot of people complain, and we've said this in our reviews, so I won't talk too much about it, but they've complained that you don't see so many cards in it. But I think that's the strong point in the game is I don't know what cards are going to come up. So I can't just go for the same strategies if I want these suits. I think having 14 different suits is very strong in that I don't know what card's going to come out next.
Yeah.
And when I have to flip over and guess the color that's coming out, that's a challenge. And it's a random luck, but deployment's not always supposed to be getting you so much benefit. It's sometimes a chance. And I think that having the 14 different suits or however many is very strong, and not knowing and the unknowing of, I don't know what's going to come out. I could be chancing it, but I'm going to take the risk and trying to keep the cards I know are going to get me points and trying to line them up. And it's just, organizing everything. I feel like it's a very strong organizational. When we say hand management, it is very organizational on which cards I want to keep, which cards I want to play. And do I chance it by pushing my luck by playing that card because I want to get this benefit? But is somebody going to take it?
Yeah.
Or am I going to actually have the chance to get it back because I know they want to play it?
Right.
I think that there's just so much into it that it does feel very similar each game because it is. I'm going up this track, I'm going up that track. I feel like there more than likely will be an expansion. It's probably not coming anytime soon, but when it does, even like Euphoria, it took a long time for that expansion to come out. Ignorance is bliss, but I feel like there will be an expansion in the future to tackle a lot of the other books and houses in it and create maybe new tracks and stuff, which really excites me. But for now, it's the same game, and I'm doing the same goal, but it can be so different on which cards I come out, have come out, and then which house I'm playing.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't like Ceres. Apollo is actually my least favorite house to play. But I feel like having both of those together in a 3-player game, in a 4-player game probably wouldn't be the same talk I'm having because you have 2 people gaining resources. That's going to speed the game up because when they want that sovereign token, they're going to speed the game up by moving up that track versus banishing a card or scouting. So I feel like it was my number 1 forever, and I just changed it a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Because of that. That killed me. That it in a 3-player game, you can get stalemated for several rounds, and it pushes like. And what's crazy is both people said, well, let's play something fast. I don't have much time. I may have to leave in the middle of it. And they kept drawing. I was like, are you kidding me? It's in the game. End it. You said you can't stay long. End it. Why are we still playing? Y'all keep going. Just skip my turn. It's like, it was driving me so much nuts. And what's crazy is that hasn't happened. Even in the 6-player game, that did not feel that bad.
Maybe it's a fluke.
I think it's that combo.
Yeah.
And people not wanting to end it because of the cards they have. And it probably won't happen often, but knowing that can happen in a 3-player game and it can extend it an additional 30 to 40 minutes when it doesn't need to just because you can't speed it up fast enough and 2 people can. 2 people want to do this and then they have to look at their cards and think about what they want to do, and it just drug on, and it killed me to have to move it to number 2, but I had to move it to number 2 because of that play. And you've heard people say you have highs that are highs and lows that are lows. And I've not, usually it's highs are high and everything else is in the medium. That was the low for me, was how long it just drug on. And it's probably one of those exceptions to the rule that just fluke, like you said, but it put that sting in me on the last time before putting this list out. So
there you go.
I'm sorry I had to drop it. Number 1 is really going to make, if 2 didn't make you mad, number 1 is probably going to make many of you mad, but we'll get to that in just a second. And we've reached the top. In the top right here is number 1. Number 1, I am going to say it. It is Bloodborne by Come On Games. Bloodborne is my number 1.
Oh,
it is
wow.
one of my favorite video games. I have played that game like New Game plus 9. I've played it so many times. The DLC Old Hunters 2, I wish they would come out with an Old Hunters box. There's just some characters that have a great fit, and I want to paint them. This is the game that I've gone all in on painting. I paint it a lot when I do have time to paint. I've only got half of a big box and a couple tiny boxes like the extra heroes and another little Blood Moon in the Hunter's Dream box. So I don't have a whole lot left to paint, but at the time I enjoy painting it because I love painting monsters. I love the game. I love adding blood splatter and bloodying up these miniatures. I can't have clean miniatures on it because I play the game so much that there's blood you're collecting blood vials, you're getting hit all the time by people popping out. It's a bloody game. I feel like I've got to do it justice by I buy so much red wash and I mix so much red paint that I waste a lot just by, dabbling it on there. But the fact that and we've only talked about core games. This is a game that I have to admit, I have played several expansions. I played about, I think 9 campaigns of it. I played all 4 in the core game. The whole, I paint a box and then we seem to play it, and it gets me motivated because if I want to play it, I feel like I have to paint it. So I get through it. We've done the Forbidden Woods. We've done Forsaken Castle with one branching story. We've done Yargle Unseen Village. I mean, we've done a lot of the game, and we've done the dungeon once. I like the dungeon. It gives you the dungeon feel of the video game. It's almost like an arcade mode, kind of. We do enjoy the campaign a little bit better because myself and another friend have played this game, and we both platinumed it. So we've played it a lot, and we know the story. We know what's coming next, so we know where it's going to branch. It is challenging. It's not a dice rolling cooperative game, which is different. It's card play, and transforming the weapon is just like in the game where I'm going to either have a long weapon or this, or I make it shorter and I have smaller, closer attacks depending on weapon. It's just painting it, seeing it on the table. And again, for some of these overviews when we're talking about it, Lance is probably going to throw pictures. Several of them will be probably from my Instagram about these games. So you'll see these things have been painted. I love painting the bosses. Each boss, I'm like, ooh, I love that one.
They do look really frightening.
That's a game that even if I didn't want to store it anymore, like Lance displays his Marvel United minis, that's one that I feel I would display all those minis.
You scare a lot of people with that.
They're just, it just has that
I think
spot.
you got problems, man.
We say nostalgia. This is a different type of nostalgia. It's not an old memory nostalgia from the 90s or the 80s or anything, or early thousands. It's a video game that is probably my favorite video game of the PS4 era. And like I said, I played it so much that each character in that game, I put my own personal touch to painting. I know, like even the one I just painted the other day, I know they throw boulders usually from a long distance or from a toxic area, swamp. That doesn't have a lot of blood on it. It doesn't need to. That guy doesn't really hit you. He throws boulders at you. So taking each miniature and knowing, well, this guy's going to hit you with this part of it. And then I put the blood there and this and that. It's just, I've invested so much personal emotion into painting it and playing it. And like I said, we've played it more. If you talk about time, it's going to be more than Red Rising because of how much, each time you do a campaign, each campaign's 3 chapters. So that's several hours. Sometimes you can finish all 3 chapters in a night. Sometimes you're having such a hard time that I've used the created save sheets that I did on Excel to save everything, or a dungeon sheet to mark which miniatures I've used, so I know, well, I haven't used these yet. Let me throw them in a dungeon mode, or let me add these to the random monsters and we can put them into a game. And I've used all these NPCs, but I haven't used this one. So when we pick a random, well, let me try this one and see how hard it is. And oh, they kicked the crap out of us last time.
Yeah.
So I know what to expect this time. It's just, and each one has 2 sides. I mean, there's just so much that's available. And as you have seen in these, almost every game that's on the list, there's either an expansion for it or an expansion coming. Ankh has a lot of variability in the different expansions. This game, if you went all in on a Kickstarter, you've got 12, I mean, counting little boxes too, there's 12 different boxes. I mean, so just the amount of changes, I mean, it's like the whole base game of the video game, and there's very few pieces that aren't in the game, like an amygdala, which I wish they would have done, not maybe a Galactus or Cthulhu size, but I wish at least for like this size of an amygdala. I would love to have an amygdala in the game. I hope that they do, and I think Michael Chanel teased it that they're gonna do more Bloodborne. So I really hope that I see an Old Hunters expansion, and I really hope that there's some type of a bigature of a amygdala. Again, it doesn't need to be 2 feet tall. I'm not going to be able to store that. My wife would have a heart attack. But if I could get a box that's just that, it's like a little, like you think of Horizon Zero Dawn or something that just has that monster pack, I would buy a 1 foot statue of an amygdala to play in the game, and it takes up a whole, arena tile or something.
Yeah.
Because it's in the dungeon and it's in the core game in different places. I mean, that's one thing of the Cosmos that I feel like they should have had in the campaign. They probably had reasons not to, and I really hope that's included. But I hope that there's more in the future for it, because again, it's one of my favorite video games. I can paint it and put my own personal touches to it. It looks awesome on the table, and we can really, and it gives you the feeling and the challenge of the video game while not being a video game. I feel like it translates very well.
Yeah.
And Jeremiah, I know, really enjoys this too because he's played the video game, whereas you and Eric haven't really played it much. So, and Jacob too hasn't really played it much. He's done a little bit, but he's in like the first area. So
I probably don't have the appreciation for it like you do because I haven't played the source
that's
material.
Why it's probably on my, as high as it is. I mean, being having that desire to paint it all, that's a lot of figures. That is a lot of time to paint every single piece.
Yeah,
the core game alone.
You're invested in it, and for me, for somebody who is not familiar, like I've never played the game. I before the board game even came out, I couldn't even have told you it existed, quite honestly. For me, to play the game, it is a fun experience attacking the monsters and them attacking you back and playing the card play out. That is a clever aspect to the game. It's a dungeon crawler, and so you either I've found that for a lot of gamers, you either love dungeon crawlers or you don't. It's a dichotomy there. I tend to land more on the side of don't than I do.
You do?
I do. I enjoy some dungeon crawlers, but not a ton. And
I'm not a huge dungeon crawler. I think this being a cooperative one, like Arcadia Quest or Massmore, that's a dungeon crawl, but it's competitive, semi cooperative at times. But it's not; those aren't games that I really gravitate to. Now, a Cthulhu Death May Die, I love that game, and that's a dungeon crawl type game. The zombie side, is technically, and it's a Ameritrash, but it's a dungeon crawl as well because you're moving around doing
you're opening doors and stuff. Yeah,
I really enjoy those games. This being different, I think a lot of people appreciate that it's card based versus dice based.
Yeah,
especially you because you're awful at die rolling.
And that's the reason. Well, it's one of the reasons
why you like it more than others.
It's one of the reasons why I love Gloomhaven to the extent that I do because it's a card base. Yeah, I do agree with you there on that. Again, I think it goes back to me. I'm not familiar with the source material, and so it just doesn't hit me in the same way as it hits you.
You played it.
I played it
multiple times.
I played it multiple times, and it's a solid game. And if you do know the source material, just like Assassin's Creed,
or Red Rising. I mean, the more you know it. I mean, Lost Ruins of Arnok. If you like Indiana Jones or Uncharted or Dune, if you like Dune or Egyptian mythology. I mean, if you really like a theme, it's going to draw.
Yeah, it's highly thematic. Yeah. All right, my number one game of 2021. If you've watched my videos and if you've watched the top 10 I did with Sam, this isn't going to shock you. Although if you haven't seen that, then it will shock you quite a bit. It was my number 2 game on my other list. And going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, this is only for 2021 games, as it says on BGG. Otherwise, I would have another game here. I would have Nidavellir in this spot. But as it is, that is technically a 2020
if you did that, you'd probably have Arnok on your list and other things.
Yeah, right. My list would look entirely different. But my number one 2021 game is going to be The Initiative.
That'd be quotes. 2021.
Yeah. 2021 game is The Initiative from Unexpected Games because is it unexpected? Holy cow. This is a game that I feel, and I'm going to be judgy here, but I feel that, and I'm going to be very judgy actually. I feel that if there are a lot of negative views on this game, it's likely because they didn't play out the campaign long enough to appreciate for what it is. This is a game that I'm at the point where I've played the entire campaign and I'm in the bonus material stuff now. There's bonus material and there's even more stuff they're releasing DLC right now. I'm at the point where every time I play it, my mind's blowing. Because it just does something, and I can't tell you anything about it because it's all spoilers, but you get through the first 3 or 4 games, which I will admit, the game itself is very simple. It is very straightforward, and if that's all it was, it would not be a game worth writing home about. But when you get into the story of it and you get into the spoilers of it, because it has escape room like elements to it, it has puzzles and riddles that you're solving, and I enjoy those type of games, but they don't ever seem to really blow me out of the water. A lot of times I get frustrated with them, more honestly, than I do kind of like, holy cow, that was really cool. I've never once got frustrated with the initiative. I have absolutely been blown away by it. What it's done, I feel like, is totally unique. It is something that I want a whole nother 16 mission campaign to do. I want there to be a sequel to it. If there ends up being a sequel, I'm gonna buy it 100% without a doubt. Everything about it, I love. The storyline was very intriguing. I can tell you that much. You're playing as a kid who has found a mysterious board game, a la kind of like I can't remember the name of the game.
Alhambra?
No. The movie. Gosh, with the kids playing the board game and they get sucked into it. Jumanji. Yeah, there you go. A la Jumanji. That, you know, it's just a mysterious kind of creepy kind of game that weird things start to happen once they play it. And there's some things beyond that, but it's done in a comic book story type fashion, and you're flipping back and forth between the book and you're playing the game in between all of that. It just works for me. It's a very immersive experience. It draws you in, and if you give it enough plays, you won't walk away from it being disappointed. I promise you, it is such a fantastic game. So that's my number 1 game.
I played it a few times with you. I mean, it's all right. I do think that
you played it twice, right?
I say a couple. I think we played 3.
Okay.
I think that the creativeness of the rule book being a comic strip and telling you to do this and that's kind of cool. But I mean, it was okay.
See, that's what I mean. You got to get in there at least 4.
You said Bloodborne was okay.
You get in there at least 4 times, and you're hooked. You're good to go, and you'll keep coming back to it. I promise you, you will. You will. Anyhow, guys, that's our top 10 of 2021. Please let us know down in the comments what you think about our list. Let us know what are your top games from 2021, and you don't have to be as specific as I was. You can put in other games that
you
aren't
can do what I do.
2021. You can do
anything that's like retail 2021 or 2022. We're gonna call it 2021. We're glad, you know, we spent a lot of time recently just making sure we hit some of these that were big names that we hadn't played yet. You know, so we're glad to have those kind of out of the way. I'm getting the backlog already of 2022 games like Nemesis Lockdown. I just got Legacies tonight, which I somehow missed the campaign. I never even heard of it, and I was like, oh man, I need that. And then Dark Tower soon, Now or Never. Bitoku. So
Foundations
a
Rome.
lot of new games that we want to get out and get played and try so we can get ahead of the 2022 list.
Yeah.
If any of those sounded like something that you would like to hear more about or see a review on, please let us know. I've also told Lance we need to do some older game videos that have very outdated videos and try to maybe get some updated content for that as well, because I know when I look for old games sometimes I'm like, oh, these videos are a little.
We need some higher quality.
Yeah, I would like to see a newer one, but we understand. I mean, even us, it's hard to get together to do a lot of these videos at times, and so and everybody wants to know what's new. But I feel like going back to roots sometimes and doing some of these older games that still people look up and you can still buy in a store, but people don't know about them. I'm not going to throw any names out because I don't want people doing videos on games we might do. So, but if you have anything you'd like to see a video of, whether it's 2022 or way old or even 2021, that you want more justification out,
leave it down below.
Yeah, just let us know, or if we mispronounce something, please let us know that too. We have no problem or anything. Like I said, I'm pretty chill, so I feel confident in communicating with you, however. So
if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified of all of these videos that we're talking about when we do put them out here in the near future, as well as the great stuff that we put out on Love to Hate, which is our side of the channel where we're trying to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers and show you those great games that will work with both crowds. So there you go. All right, guys, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this has been our top 10 of 2021 for Hard to Master. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.